The following news flash is brought to you by the Lone Star Lowdown, providing your daily bulletins for the commodities market. Today in history, news updates, and the inside scoop into the tides of the alternative. Markets for Friday, April Fool's Day 2016 are currently trading with gold at $1,221.75 an ounce, silver $15.04 an ounce, Texas crude $38.34 a barrel, and Bitcoin is currently sitting at about 416 U.S. currency. Today in history, the year 2001. Same-sex civil unions become legal in the Netherlands. The first country in the world issued civil union licenses to gay and lesbian couples. Today in history. In recent news, some corporate April Fool's pranks went not so well this year. Yahoo's Inc. news service published an article reporting that all the Trader Joe's more than 450 grocery stores would be closing in 2017. Trader Joe's fans went to Twitter with mad tweets, even though at the end of the article it stated that it was clearly a joke. A spokeswoman for Trader Joe's said that the chain had nothing to do with it. And Google, who has been quite active in pranking customers for the last decade on this date, added a Gmail mic drop button to their Gmail services, which automatically sent an animated image from the Minions movie showing the character Bob dropping a microphone. Many users were unhappy after accidentally pressing the button, sending the joke email in reply to more serious ones. A CIA K-9 unit conducted a routine training exercise with law enforcement officials at a school district in Loudoun County, Virginia, during spring break, during which explosive material was inadvertently left by the CIA in one of the school buses used in the exercise, which now appears to have unknowingly carried students for 2 days while the explosive material sat underneath the hood. Loudoun County Public Schools officials stated that the bus was in service on Monday and Tuesday, made 8 runs totaling roughly 145 miles, carrying 26 students. The explosive material was discovered during a routine maintenance job Wednesday afternoon. Why the fumble? Apparently, a container holding the explosives was hidden inside the engine compartment during the K-9 training, of which a portion of it fell from the container into the engine compartment and was simply overlooked during the recovery. And though the CIA is assuring the public that the material posed no immediate danger, the exact nature of the material is not being released by request of the CIA to ensure, I'm sure, that a compromising of training techniques is not made public. Loudoun County Public Schools, county law, and fire officials and the CIA have announced this particular training program has been suspended until a thorough review of all procedures is completed. This is Rick Rohde with your lowdown for April 1st, 2016.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. I have a joke for you. Okay. The government in this town is excellent and uses your tax dollars efficiently.
You thought you'd see it coming. The moment you Bitcoin is immune from attack almost completely. With Bitcoin, you actually gain far more from using that computing power to generate Bitcoin.
There's a system approaching perfection. It's in time for it to disappear. There's a system approaching perfection. It's in time for it to disappear.
We'll walk deeper into the belly of the beast if it means I'm able to further limit reckless government spending. I mean, I have so many ideas. Some are simple, like take down traffic lights and eliminate the post office. The bigger ones will be tougher, like bring all of this crumbling to the ground.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Crypto Show, a show about disruptive technology, currency, and liberty, with a pinch of stick in it to the man. As always, we come to you live from the real heart of the resistance in Austin, Texas, deep beneath the Chase Bank, with a stack of Bitcoin miners at our back, undermining the bank and the man. We bring to you the latest info from those hacking away at the digital revolution and having some fun while we do it.
They gave him double life. All right.
At least you preserved that part of the intro. I like that. Because that is the most important one, isn't it? Having fun.
Yeah.
While we do this, right, Dan?
Exactly.
And don't we have
the rest of it we could have done without.
Yeah. Agreed. What I would love to do, by the way, I want to have a video of me lip syncing that intro. Where I just like get it perfectly dead on. So people think, wait a minute, I thought that was Chris. Is that Danny? It sounds just like Danny. Well, I think that would be pretty awesome. John, what do you think?
I think that'd be great. In fact, I'd like to have it the other way too.
Cool.
I'd like to have him lip syncing.
That's a great, Danny, we should do this. And, speaking of like, defrauding and fooling people, I think we could be pretty good at that because we're clever. We're really smart guys, right, Danny? Right?
I think so.
I think so too. I don't know. Actually, I kind of doubt it, but, it would be fun.
My friends tell me that, but most of them are in preschool.
Well, that might be. Most of mine take a small bus to and from every day, so that might be saying something. Well, I don't know. We'll have to get another person's opinion, a smart guy's opinion. Well, speaking of smart guys, stop laughing at me. We have a really smart guy as our guest today in studio with us. And by the way, just before I even get to him, lest I forget, let me not leave out the fact that today I'm a tease. Yeah. Ladar Levison constantly calls me a tease too. I think I'm getting good at it if I'm getting accused of it so much. But it is April 3rd, 2016. It is a Sunday. And we are coming to you on Logos Radio Network. Go to logosradionetwork.com, and I think you can still participate in the fundraiser. And there's some great prizes that you can win in that drawing. And don't forget our sponsors, Brave New Books and Hill Country Home Improvements, for all your roofing needs. And they do accept Bitcoin. All right. Well, now that
no, they prefer Bitcoin.
There you go. They exclusively only accept Bitcoin. Dollars and cents, not accepted. Cents is definitely not accepted. Cents with an S, that is.
Right.
Well, our very smart guest who can tell us whether we might be smart enough to fool people with lip syncing and other things.
Don't burden me with that.
You know what? We have better things to present to you for consideration.
Okay.
I think you're right. Is John Ferguson. And he's back in studio with us. He's
as I promised I would be.
As you did promise you would be.
Yeah. I thought that was a threat, but okay.
Well, you take it as you will.
I didn't think he'd follow through, but you know what? I was wrong. No, he's a man of his word. But John is John. What is your?
How do you want me to introduce? How do you want to introduce me?
I always forget. Tell us.
I want. Anyway.
Tell us your blog.
I'm so smart.
You are so smart.
Yeah. Okay.
And your YouTube channel and all that.
Right. Well, safecrossroads.net is my website. In my other life, I am the simpleton of Project Safe because not everybody can be a geek. And Safe Network is a pretty geeky kind of thing at its base, but terribly important. And but as I was here last time talking about Safe Network, I promised you that time, and you hinted to everybody else that it was a surprise. And there is. As anybody who's watching the LTB network may know, I've just come out with another podcast, which I'm also going to be doing, called Technology and Choice.
Cool. And that is a theme that you touched upon last time, if I recall, right?
Well, we talked about it because it's really at the core of, it was a really interesting process. There's something about, Bitcoin got my attention because, hey, it's empowering individuals. Oh, that's a great thing. We need some of that. Safe Network came along and said, wow, now that is really empowering getting down to the basics of, by default, we're going to honor choice. That's because that's how it goes together. Well, that's really cool. And then, there's all about decentralization. Everybody's talking about decentralization and it's really good, but there was also some irrationality that was coming through on this. It's like, let's decentralize everything because, in other words, kind of like, well, let's tear everything down and start over. Let's decentralize to the point where we're atoms floating through space. You can go that way too. And it was like, there's something here that gave me an itch.
Yeah.
Right. And I wrote in the process of figuring that out, I wrote an article called The Decentralization Itch. Because I was going, what is the motivation behind that?
But what were some of the conclusions you came to or observations you made in that article?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say that the article is on safecrossroads.net and at SoundCloud/SafeCrossroads. You can find an audio reading of it posted.
Cool.
Actually,
is that your
when I
submitted
it to the LTB network, Adam B. Levine went, "Oh, this is cool. Could you record it?" So I sent him a couple samples. He says, "Hey, just chill, just chill and read it like you got plenty of time." So I finally did, and it came out okay. And he cut it together and put it on as part of the LTB show, the Let's Talk Bitcoin show, episode 233.
Did he tell you to chill? Sorry, did he tell you to chill because
I was
nervous about it, or like he heard a little snippet of your?
No, because I was rushing through it, and
I see.
And I tried biofile. Okay, I finally sent it off. He said, "Okay, I got it." Let's say I can't do anything with this. Anyway, but finally, and so it came out with an acceptable thing that it was episode 233 of Let's Talk Bitcoin.
Okay,
but I've also got that cut now posted on SoundCloud. Excellent. Anyway, so what it's about. I really highly recommend you read and listen to it. But essentially, it foreshadowed what we're doing here with technology and choice. Because, what is decentralization? Well, what are you decentralizing, first of all? And if you look at it with the definition of centralization, it has to do with amassing control in a central, home office or wherever.
Yeah, relatively small number of people.
Yeah, it's like
or
hierarchical situations. Okay, so decentralization, what is it that we are decentralizing? Well, it's choice. And if you take that to its logical conclusion, it goes all the way down to the individual always.
Yeah.
Because groups do not and cannot actually choose because what is a group? Groups is a bunch of people kind of operating together.
Well, tell that to the
And so-
collectivists out there because they think troops have.
Well, I know, but they're insane, and I mean that in the very nicest way because they can
And I
choose to
agree
be,
with you in the nicest way.
Yeah. No, I mean, and hey, I'm not saying that I'm not insane in some things too.
Yeah,
You know, it's
yours
like,
is a good insane. It's different.
Well, most of the time. Sometimes I can be pretty nasty. You know.
Oh, I've seen it.
No, but really, the point is, and I lay it out in a real because actually in writing that article, I had the core of it, and then I hired Cheryl Hulsapple, the editor at Let's Talk Bitcoin. Could you be an editor for me and work with me on it? And she, just by her questions, like, what, huh? That helped me walk through the whole logic of it.
I miss her.
Yeah.
Why did she
she's
used
great.
to
She fixed.
do some of the podcasts? Or
She made me look not so retarded
Yeah.
by editing my.
well, that's a hard task right there.
I know.
Kudos to her. But anyway,
Anyway, so essentially it comes down to the individual. But how do you say, what is the individual? What do you know? Well, the thing you can know is when I say, hey, I'm talking to you, you either think, is he talking to me? Or oh yeah, I hear you. Or he's, take a hike. You're not talking to me. If it's got I, me, or whatever in it, then you know who I'm talking about. You may not know what you are. You may not know who you are. It doesn't matter. So we don't have to debate over, are we souls or spirits or a bag of chemicals? And it's all an illusion. It doesn't matter.
Have to get that metaphysical, philosophical.
And it can, and that's fine.
Fun,
but it's really aside from the point because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because if you have a sense of self, if you can say, I disagree, or I agree, then you are intimately tied in with, well, what are we talking about? Yeah. Well, it's choice.
Well, and the fact that, just real quick, the fact that you can express volition that other people can recognize, it doesn't matter what all the other metaphysical stuff is. What matters is that is demonstrable and observable by other people. So anyway.
Right. That's really the key point. And I actually outlined, you said, it doesn't really matter. For the thing is that we're stuck with the fact that, you are aware of the very most basic thing you need to know in order to take the next logical step, which is you choose. It's not that you have choices. No, choice is really more something that you are. So with that as a basic, all sorts of stuff starts happening in your head when you start looking at things this way.
Right.
But not just in your head, but in the way the world appears. And, the reason I jumped on the Safe Network was because I perceived, and I wasn't unaware of this line of thinking before, but I hadn't really codified it. The Safe Network really does put choice right back in the hands of everybody who's participating.
So it's one of the most powerful technologies out there for allowing for an expanding choice.
Well, that's why I grabbed it. But then I looked at, what is it that appeals to me so much? And I isolated this thing. And then as I went on with the Safe Crossroad podcast, and that's been great, and I'm going to continue it, we're running into other technologies. Francis Brunel, one of the community members and a system admin on the forums there, he's real interested in Ethereum and all bunch of other DemonSaw, IPFS, all of these a bunch of different ones. And he's following them, and I back and forth. I said, well, let's cover them. But they didn't fit under the Safe Crossroad podcast. And so, how are we going to do this? And so it actually took a number of months to come up with what are we going to do with this? And finally released the first podcast. Now, I had planned to do it with maybe various co-hosts and various things. And I decided virtual reality would be a first good thing because
that's cool.
It's a very cutting edge technology. It's got a science fiction foreshadowing of things to come and so forth. And I reached out and had some help from Olga Ivanova with VR Oxygen. And she helped a lot. And we were going to do a podcast, but I took up too much of her time because it was too confusing. So finally, I took all that. And I called an old buddy of mine who over the last 15 years, we have talked regularly and worked, I haven't seen him in almost 15 years. For the last 9 years or so, at least, we've been confidants over the phone. And he's my co-host. His name is Robert Wurstel, and he's going to be on he's going to Skype in on the next section.
Oh, of today's show?
Yeah, of today's show. Yeah, it's going to be the two of us.
I knew that.
I know.
Yeah, just pretending not to know for the audience. The audience doesn't feel so ignorant. Yeah. Well, speaking of audience, we got 10 seconds till break. John Ferguson, SafeCrossroads.net. Always a pleasure having him. And we'll be right back with him and his correspondent friend. We'll be right back.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
This is what happens when you call the cops. Say what? This is what happens when you call the cops. Come on. This is what happens when you call the cops. You get your rights violated or you all get shot. This is what happens when you call the cops. This is what happens when you call the cops. This is what happens when you call the cops. You get your rights violated or you all get shot.
I'm sick of people being victimized by criminal cops. Psychopathic predators terrorizing neighborhood blocks. Equipped with pepper spray, mace, cuffs, tasers, and glocks. They like serial killers acting out subliminal thoughts. Forget what you taught. These cops cops have got a license to kill. Witness intimidation means that they can use it at will. Code of silence means that the pigs will never let out a squeal. And if they go to court, they know the judge will make them a deal. For real, that's why they stopping me, locking me up and stopping me, confiscating my property, talking in my demography, making the poor commodities, profiting off of poverty, enforcing policy, supporting prison economy.
Alrighty, welcome back, guys, to the second segment here on the Crypto Show, here on this lovely Sunday, April 3rd, 2016, here on Logos Radio Network. And don't forget our lovely, lovely sponsors, Brave New Books and Hill Country Home Improvements. And, of course, Brave New Books, you can check out their sister websites, bravenewbookstore.com, where many of the products available in store are available online for purchase as well. And, of course, there's the ever too invaluable events page for finding out what's coming up later in the month and sometimes into next month. A lot of times we have stuff booked pretty far in advance. A lot of great speakers and events on all sorts of topics. If we have books on it, we probably have speakers and events concerning those topics. And then the bitcoinbookstore.com, where you can find over 50 books on 50 titles on Bitcoin. Probably the single biggest source on the internet for books on Bitcoin, thebitcoinbookstore.com. Well, we're talking with John Ferguson of safecrossroads.net. And I got that. Didn't say .com this time, safecrossroads.net. Even I can learn. But John, so we were talking about the concept of decentralization and an article you had written about it, and the concept of choice, and kind of how people overshoot their idea of decentralization. And, what is it you're decentralizing? And that's a good point.
Not everybody overshoots, and not everybody undershoots. I mean, it's kind of like we get. Oh, that's better.
Okay. Yeah, just in case.
Not everybody overshoots, not everybody undershoots, but it's kind of like there's some confusion about what's really going on here. And I had that. It's like there's something wrong. And so looking at it, it evolves to choice, and you can choose to operate under a central organization. In fact, you know what? It really boils down to if it's centralized, you do choose. Yeah, it's not really a matter of there should be choice. I'm sorry, there's really not anything else.
Yeah.
Choice is already decentralized by its very nature.
Right.
Things that build to centralization are by collections of choices.
Right.
So,
I mean, even in a coercive situation, you're still maybe making a choice.
Yeah.
To follow along, or to maybe attack the burglar who's trying to rob you, etc.
Right. Or go to the gas chamber, or take down a couple of guards while you're at it. Or
exactly.
Whatever. It's like there's always choice.
Yeah.
You may not be able to choose everything because you're on a playing field that doesn't allow you to go out and jump 30 feet in the air from a dead standing because there's gravity, But who knows where choice actually goes back to, because we're all, and as we examine this, just more and more things keep unfolding. Mm-hmm. And I'm finding that this podcast and where we want to really take it is not so much, a static thing, but this is evolving. I know my thoughts are evolving as we plunge into this, and I hope we can engage the audience too. We started out with the VR one. The next one, Robert, did you get on the line?
This way, yeah.
Okay, good.
There he is.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Let me introduce myself.
Allow myself to introduce myself.
All right. Is that now? We had to jury rig a connection real quick because we had a little Skype trouble. So we got Robert on an impromptu link, but you're
sounds fairly clear. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes.
All right, I wanted to introduce Robert. He is I call Robert my farmer, philosopher, internet guru friend because he raises cattle and does other things on a farm up in northern Missouri, and he makes a living online. And we know each other from way back, which back in there's a lot of reasons why this relationship has come forward in the way it has, and maybe we'll explore some of that. But Robert, hello.
Hey. That's me.
That's you. Okay, there we go. Well, so you and Robert knew each other, I guess, physically in person.
Yeah, we've known each other for quite some time.
And then you became correspondents, which, of course, not just telephones, but the internet makes so easy these days.
Oh, yeah.
To keep in touch and collaborate on things. So tell us how Robert fits into what you're doing.
Well, Robert, first of all, we got to find out, let Robert tell you what he does.
Okay, excellent. Robert, tell us.
I've done all the talking so far. So
you did a good job at it.
Well, thank you.
Well,
he's also very complimentary, which keeps me going. I appreciate it. We help each other.
He's a good friend that way. Well, how supportive?
Yeah, he is. He's very supportive.
Well, Robert, tell us what you do. John just introduced you as raising cows in Missouri, but it sounds like you do more than that. Go ahead and share that with us.
Okay, I think we got a fuzzy connection, but let's just bear through this. But I do farming. I publish books. Particularly, I raise grass-fed beef, and I keep John grounded.
And vice versa.
Well, that's got to be tough to do.
Well, actually, he does keep me grounded. He's the one that I say, we talk about so much. I say, Robert, tell me about your cows. And he has a lot of neat things to say about his cows.
Do the cows keep him philosophical and grounded? Is that what does it? Are the cows are the power behind Robert?
Maybe.
We'll have to find out from him, I guess.
Anyway.
But Robert, so you write books and you raise cows, grass-fed beef. That's awesome. I'm so glad that that's becoming more and more of a trend because, one, it's healthier and natural, and two, that's how they used to do it back in the day when cows would roam freely. But you write books also. What kind of books do you write?
Well, I basically mess around with self-help. But if anybody wants to Google me, they'll find out I go everything from wireless telephony to, back in the day, to very extreme philosophical works as well. But you try to keep it simple with John, because if I give him anything complex, then he takes it off from there. So...
Well, I think, we're all aware of that, so I'm glad that you are too. So let's make sure we keep it simple.
I didn't even know there was a market for cow therapy, but.
Well, I like, like the dog whisperer. There's a cow whisperer.
Cow whisperer.
They're out there.
He can tell you where they like to be scratched.
Ooh, I don't want to know.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that may be a TMI from me. No, but that's kind of awesome. I like that you stretch all of these different topics from, like you said, wireless telephony to deep philosophy stuff and self-help. And that sounds not unrelated to what John and I have just been talking about with respect to SafeNet and the idea of choice. And so I guess tell us how what you've worked on historically maybe fits in with what John's doing.
He's just stabbing in the dark. We didn't really come on with a plan, did we? Well, let me just chime in. Yeah, Robert and I have had a track together previously, and we've had some interesting experiences. And then we lost track for a while, and then I checked on the internet. Oh, there he is. So about 9 years ago or so, we connected up, and in peeling apart our past experiences, and he jumped in and started examining, well, what does work in the realm of self-help and improvement and philosophy. And tell them about one of your first books, Robert. Go Thunk Yourself.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
That's so much better.
Oh my God, you sound like a different man.
Yeah, you're in with us now.
Yeah, nothing like having a great mic and a great set of earphones.
Yeah, right.
Earbuds they call it these days.
Well, no,
because they're your friends.
That was Danny changed on our end too. Now you're right in our ears.
Oh no, that's all on his end.
Oh really?
No, my end is just a phone call.
Okay.
Well, excellent. Well, Robert, your voice is loud and clear and beautiful.
Now I feel like we're not talking at a distance.
Yeah, exactly.
So tell him how you evolved Go Thunk Yourself and what was all involved in that. Because he also has, like me, he has a penchant for cheeky titles.
And we do have 50 seconds till break, actually.
Oh, come on.
So actually, you know what? Let's save it for the other side because we love leaving our listeners in suspense. And that way you don't get cut off by the break because the break is always so annoying. We need to get the network people to like have no breaks during the crypto show and only the crypto show because we're the most important show on the network. No, I'm just kidding. But we will be back with John Ferguson of SafeCrossroads.net and Robert. Is it Wurstel?
Yeah,
Robert
Wurstel's fine.
Oh my God, I can't believe I got that close enough.
I saw the gears cranking.
Well, I thunk it. Who thunk it?
Okay, you got it.
We'll talk about his book and what he does and what he's doing with John and more with other surprises John may have for us on the crypto show on the other side.
Honesty is the best policy, but for people who think otherwise, there's now software that helps you lie. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, and I'll tell you about a disturbing new software trend in a moment.
Privacy is under attack. When you give up data about yourself, you'll never get it back again. And once your privacy is gone, you'll find your freedoms will start to vanish too. So protect your rights, say no to surveillance, and keep your information to yourself. Privacy, it's worth hanging on to. This message is brought to you by StartPage.com, the private search engine alternative to Google, Yahoo, and Bing. Start over with StartPage.
Nowadays, faking it has become big business with a whole industry built around helping people lie. Need to fake popularity? There are apps to create phony fans or make it look like your website is getting mad traffic. Or how about a girlfriend for your Twitter or Facebook account? You can simulate calls to your cell phone, spoof caller ID, and even fake text messages. But the worst has got to be the Alibi Network, a staff of professional liars who will tell any fib you want by email, fax, or phone. However, while these tricks may work for the short run, always remember, cheaters never prosper. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht for StartPage.com, the world's most private search engine.
You are listening to the Logos Radio Network.
LogosRadioNetwork.com.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What you gonna do when they show up in black suits on your street and I'm
Go thunk yourself.
That's what I thunk.
That is the title of one of many of the books written by Robert Wurstel. He is apparently a very prolific writer, and that was one of his early works, I think John was saying. So anyway, tell us.
It was his early self-help.
Is there a special edition in coloring books?
Not yet. I'm working on it. I think that's a good idea. I could make a lot of money these days.
I know. That's really popular among adults right now.
I keep forgetting that. Yeah, my mother has coloring books. She gave one to my girlfriend, and it's really popular.
Yeah, I was reading an article the other day that adults coloring too much is causing it where children can't find crayons. Yeah, there's a shortage of pencils and crayons. No, I'm not kidding.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
That's a thing now.
They put on third shifts and doubled up all the workers.
Yep.
Man, I should have invested in Crayola this past year.
Well, it's actually it's Prismacolor and stuff like that. It's the colored pencils are the ones they're after.
Oh, well, that makes more sense. Yeah. Well, and I thought Danny was just asking for himself because Danny never kind of graduated past the coloring book phase. But anyway, tell us about Who Thunk It, Robert.
Okay, Go Thunk Yourself was when I
whoa, we can't say that on air. Oh, okay, just go ahead. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, I'll put an asterisk. Just consider there's an asterisk instead of that U. How's that?
Okay.
So I moved back to Missouri from LA because it's nutty out in LA, right? After spending trained as a graphic designer, and I was trained in this management stuff. And I said, and then when I took my vacations to Missouri, everybody was really nice to you all the time. And I said, well, this is different. But anyway, so I moved back and took over running the family farm. But I had a lot of stuff. I was 40 years old then? A lot of stuff just gyrating around. And talk about this, technology and choice stuff. Because there I was from this high-tech LA and we were running some pretty interesting press equipment, generating film for color separations and all sorts of stuff. But then I moved back to the farm and I'm working in a warehouse job and running the family farm, and it's very simple, boring. But so Go Thunk Yourself was really, I had spent 20 years studying self-help material or personal development or self-improvement stuff. And that can get thick real quick. And what I had to test for myself was, does this stuff work?
What do you mean thick, by the way, in that sense?
Thunk?
No, thick.
Thick.
Oh,
you said it gets thick real quick.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Aside from rhyming.
Let's see. Because a lot of it is booby-trapped. It doesn't really go down to the core principles that makes the whole stuff work. A lot of it is like, oh, man, I can't even think of it. I've discarded so many books, it's hard to think of a title right now. But a lot of stuff is just out there to make money. It's really just to make money. And John and I just put an article together and says that one of the core principles, one of the core ideas behind it was that for the bulk of humanity, it's a question of following people who then follow people who are themselves following other people. And nobody ever figures out who's leading the pack. So in self-help, it's the same problem. You have a lot of copycat books out there, a lot of feel-good books. Right now, the big craze is habit stacking or changing your habits. You do little changes and all these big effects occur. And that's fine because it does work. But you get a lot of books that are just, it gets so thick you have to put on your rubber boots and get your feet off the ground. That's what I call thick.
I've noticed that about a couple of self-help books where the people were like, "Who are you helping? Who's helping you? I think you can't even help yourself. How are you helping me?"
Help me? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so you really have to. And so I was saying, look, if this stuff works, then it either none of it works or there is some core basics behind it that make it work. There's choices. There's basically a technology down there somewhere, or there isn't. Either the whole thing's a sham, or there's a very core principles. Now you get bestsellers like Think and Grow Rich or Carnegie's one, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Right.
In both of those cases, what's fascinating is Hill studied over 500 of the movers and shakers of his day, right? All the big guys, several presidents and so on, and big corporations of that day. And then Carnegie studied 15, he critiqued 15, no, if I got this number right, I think it's over 150,000 speeches in 15 years or 20 years or something like that. And so he was critiquing these guys and studying people and studying. And so you get people who actually did do the work. Now, Covey's 7 Habits for, 7 Habits book, right?
7 Habits for successful people, highly effective people.
I've heard of that one, yeah.
He studied over 200 years of self-improvement books that were developed in the Americas from the time it started up to 1976, right? And so, and from that, he distilled 7 points, you see. Carnegie,
go ahead.
Well, and then Hill got 13 points out of studying these 500 people's lives and all their interviewing them, right? And then Carnegie, of course, then came out with his is more convoluted than that, but it's still very, very, very simple. Because the common thing that everybody had in common was they wanted to know how to help people by making friends and influencing them.
And so would you say that these are 2 examples of like legitimate, good self-help books that are out there because of the extensive research that went into them?
Well, that's why. I mean, you can judge them how they're successful because they're sales. Nobody beats those 2 books.
Tell them about the criteria you used in studying all this. That was what was really good.
Oh,
because that's what made Go Thunk Yourself, from my understanding.
Well,
in terms of go ahead.
That it had to work. You're kind of stretching me now. Now I've got to see if I can stretch.
All right. Well, he told me this enough. I'll get him on the track. Well, I remember you telling me that the whole research, you did a whole research paper on this as part of a degree or something, and basically said, all right, what's the criteria? We're going to look at all of these books and throw out everything that wasn't a bestseller, that stayed a bestseller for a long time, and is still selling and influencing people long after the author's death.
So in fairly objective criteria.
Just, saying, well, does it work? Did it work? Does it work? Does it continue to work once the author's influence is gone?
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And that was the core that you used for that. Am I remembering that, Robert?
That's right. Because the main problem we have, the main problem you do run in with most self-help, most personal development books, is the charisma of the author. Anybody can go on a book tour and, get everybody to buy. A lot of people I think Robert Kiyosaki actually, one of his big boosts to his book, Rich Dad, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was he got into Amway, picked it up and pushed it out to their distributors. Right.
That's a lot right there. Yeah.
And so the sales of the book didn't depend on the person. Here's the 3-point. The basis of the study was the text was found appealing to its audience and purchased widely. The text continued to be found useful regardless of grammar, language, or style changes. And the sales of the book didn't depend on the personal charisma of the author or social fads or whims.
Does being 7 feet tall help at all? Is that one of the criteria?
If you're a rabbit, invisible rabbit, it helps a lot.
Okay. Sorry, Tony Robbins. I was just.
That's the other rabbit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a character. And see, he's actually where he got his stuff was from actually interviewing people and what's he called modeling them, figuring out what made them think, what made them work.
That makes
sense. His main thing is he's incredibly energetic in his speeches and talks. And so it's really much a live thing where then you make the money off of all the podcasts, or now it's podcasts. It was CDs and DVDs and before that cassette tapes. And if you take it back to all-time great Earl Nightingale, he started out with a 78 RPM long play record.
Wow. I didn't realize the industry was that old. That's cool.
Strangest Secret. Yeah, he started the digital stuff.
So that was the origins of Go Thunk Yourself. He actually did that and started publishing that book. And I don't want to get stuck on that because there's a lot of track between there and here.
Right. Well, we're coming to break actually, so that's a good sort of pause for the moment. So Robert Wurstel in his book, Go Thunk It.
Well,
Go Thunk Yourself.
Go Thunk Yourself, and that's a request we can give to the audience is to figure out how to go thunk yourself here on the break.
Excellent. So figure that out, and then we'll tell you how to do it when we come back. So stay tuned with John Ferguson, SafeCrossroads.net, and Robert Wurstel. Go thunk yourself. Go thunk yourself.
Easy.
All right, boys and girls, under 10, because that's our listenership. No,
Are you thunk yet?
Are you thunk yet? So, who would have thunk it? We're back. Did you thunk amongst yourselves during that brief break and consider what Go Thunk Yourself means? Well, hopefully you did. And whether you did or not, we'll get some elucidation on that from the author of Go Thunk Yourself, Robert Worstall.
It's funny. We weren't planning on pushing any of his books, really, but it's great.
But I love this too because, I know this was kind of a stepping stone, so we don't have to dwell on it too much. But I do love it when we get into other cool topics.
Oh yeah, it's a funny thing is it's all related. Because it's a story. It's a story that that we separately and together we've been friends a long time, and even though our tracks divided, we got back together, and there's this feedback along the lines of, what's happening,
right?
And what can you depend on, and what do you believe? Should you believe stuff that you can't figure out and find and attach your own understandings to?
Right.
That's really the key.
That's really key because so much of our world is predicated on believing things that other people tell you to believe in, that you may not have personally verified yourself. And so that's a very just key point of philosophy and personal growth and all that. So, and just to add too, who Go Thunk Yourself was basically a sort of meta study of other self-help books that were successful and clearly had things that, by some objective metrics like sales, like longevity of it being in the public consciousness, clearly had valid, helpful things to give to people.
And actually, that's funny. I'm being better at telling about Robert's book than he is. That's a hoot. No, the thing that I thought was really cool about it also was he didn't just go, okay, well, there's this book and that book. He said, what are the common denominators of the things what do all of these things share, or the majority of these things share in terms of principles? And, so that you can look where, it's like, okay, well, we got a lot of light shining here showing where to look for tools that work. So, the funny thing is this really all does tie into the concept of technology and choice. We've been on this track, and it was really an epiphany when I said, oh, well, to make this podcast work, I've got to get Robert. So that's kind of how it came together.
And just to add to what you said too, real quick, when you say technology, it's not trivial to class together what we usually consider as technology, in other words, like computing, for instance, with basic mental or psychological techniques for behavior modification or self-improvement. All of these things are different forms of technology that we can use as tools to better our world.
Right.
And
or do other things too. The fascinating thing about this is since we've started, we got one podcast in the can. We know where the next one is going. So, we've got the second one in the can. We've had the first one out, got one ready to go, and we're working on the next. But as these things evolve, I'm having these epiphanies like, oh, duh, technology. I had it's the use of knowledge to do almost anything. Well, that's true. So it doesn't apply to just high tech. It applies to farming. It applies to staying alive. But actually what it technically is just a sequence, a pre-worked out sequence of choices. That's technology in its most basic
That's a really good
function.
point.
No, it hit me like
that's an important perspective.
It hit me.
It
was a blinding thing to me just the other day because you go, oh, well, this actually starts to reflect on you go, I don't know where it goes, but it's a very deep rabbit hole. But because it ties technology and choice together, and choice is something that you don't have to consult anybody else. You can go, well, do I have choice? Well, it puts the universe right in everybody's lap, and
and thinking about it in this way, this different perspective is important for a variety of reasons, but not the least of which is that most people give up their choice in a lot of ways, and not just politically, but like giving it to representatives. They give up their choice when, for instance, I know I've been there where I'm in a very sort of anxious or nervous situation, or I'm timid. And I don't do something that I want to do because I'm afraid of what someone else will think. Right. And I'm giving up my choice by doing that. And the worst part of that is I'm giving up my choice. I'm sacrificing something important, my choice to better my situation according to what I feel, for a small moment of maybe, embarrassment or just discomfort. And it's totally not worth it to give up that choice. Anyway, I'm not trying to down the whole rabbit hole, but
that's very good. But I have an even deeper rabbit hole.
I'll have an even deeper one than that.
No, but the other angle on that is simply that actually you chose to give up your choice.
Well, that's
true. You can't. As I examine this, that is the one thing that we can be sure that we can't choose is to give up choice, because in a sense that makes not choice something that we have; it's something that we are.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so, so my whole focus on this is getting around. Robert approaches all of this from a much more self-help, he's much more conciliatory. He'd say, well, so we can improve the world. And I say, so you can wake up, jerks. I don't mean it. I don't mean it bad. I mean, it's that way to myself even. It's kind of like I'm a little bit more of a butthead about it, but that's fine. That's a choice too. I like being a rebellious teen. It makes me feel young.
Danny just likes being a teen. I don't know what that meant.
This is all making me think of a Rush song. So
Everything does, whatever. Well,
you guys are literally saying the lyrics for Free Will over here.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, it's this is nothing new. I mean, but I don't see it being really said. I mean, I don't see it being really focused on, and it possibly. I mean, I don't know why, and it's okay. We don't have to focus on it, but you can focus on it and then forget it. You can choose to, but it really brings back responsibility for everybody's life into the hands of whoever actually conceives that they exist.
Right, and just last thing I'll say, before I ask Robert a question is that you do choose either way, but I think an important part of choosing is learning to make preferred choices, like the kind of situation I was talking about, where instead of choosing something that keeps you in your comfort zone, sometimes it's important to choose things that take you out of that, or choose consciously. Be aware of why you choose, when you choose, how you choose, and I think a lot of people simply don't even operate on a conscious level with their choices, and I think that's an important sort of.
And that's okay. I mean, that can be okay too. But the point is that you can have that's a technology too. Say, well, how do I be a better person? Well, first be conscious of your choices, and what's the techniques you use to be conscious of your choices? What are techniques you use to let go of prior choices that you've made? Because not all patterns are bad, not all habits are bad. I train myself to do things so I don't have to think about it every time.
Exactly.
But then if I find myself doing it and it's not appropriate, I got to go, wait a minute, and go, oh, well, I did that, okay, and I can undo it. Yeah. And I don't know that the whole universe isn't made up of just that kind of thing, but not necessarily. I don't know how it all works, but I know that quantum mechanics is finding that a particle can be in two places at once by demonstration observation until you decide you want to look at one of them, and then it's there and not the other place. Well, what's that but choice? I kind of go, whoa,
Yeah, well, no, it basically showing that the universe is not maybe so deterministic as we think, which leaves open the possibility for free will. So
but free will is whether free will actually exists or not. It's you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
So you might as well run with it.
I like that.
You know what I mean? If you could choose to get rid of it, then okay. But if you can't, then what does it matter whether it's just sophistry to go, oh, it doesn't really exist. In other words, you say, oh, it doesn't matter that I don't choose. Well, that's a choice you can make.
It is sort of a philosophical dead end in that sense, or almost irrelevant. But I love talking about this stuff.
Oh, I do too. Well, anyway, we got to get back to Robert, because Robert's track is real interesting.
Robert's like, why am I here? If there's no,
you guys are doing such a great job.
He's here. This is kind of how it goes. Sometimes he'll listen to me and then he'll say something, and then I'll have
welcome to Free Willy.
Yeah, really.
Exactly.
Well, and clearly Robert in his book and the premise of it are such great food for thought that they get you and me talking.
Oh, and that's just the start.
That's a tribute and credit to him. Well, and so speaking of which, we know that your book is distilling down the essence of these other books, the common ground that makes them successful. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? What are some of those elements that have made these books successful that Go Thunk Yourself talks about?
Well, that's exactly what happened. When you start going down just with those three criteria, then you pick out 3 books, or you pick out all the books with those 3 criteria. Let me settle down here. Then you'll pick up these books that actually fill those criteria. So you start off with all dead authors that are still selling, right?
Right, that makes sense.
They are selling after their author's death because Think and Grow Rich is still selling well. They both have foundations. Them and Carnegie both have foundations that take care of these books, right? What they built up. But those are different stories. The whole thing is they still sell well. Well, actually, even the 7 Habits stuff still continues to sell well. Nightingale Conant has built off of those tapes that he did, and they've got a huge stable of books, of tapes and CDs and DVDs and everything else now.
Ayn Rand.
Yeah, exactly.
She sold more after she was dead.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Herman Melville sold more Moby Dick than ever did during his life, too. That's another story.
That goes down several different tracks, but I don't want to completely focus on Go Thunk Yourself. I think we want to move forward to because actually that was just the first one you really put out, and then you ran into some other things, and I go ahead.
The funniest thing happened during the course of this book is that it brought up the point I didn't know what I was talking about. In other words, I didn't know that I knew how to analyze something, so I actually had to do a huge study of analysis, and then that took me down even other rabbit holes. And because John and I have one thing in common is we look for basics. And of course, living on a farm, you have to keep very pragmatic about things. If you don't put a seed in the ground, you're never going to get a crop out of it, So I had to study logic. In order to study analysis, I had to study logic, and I had to go back all the way down to scientific methodology, which is the same thing computer programs are built on, basically. And then come back up with a system that would actually understand, because I knew how to analyze things, but I didn't know why I knew how to analyze things.
Sounds pretty brilliant. We're coming to break. Robert Worstall, Go Thunk Yourself, and John Ferguson will be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the second half of the Crypto Show. And if there's two people who can't be trusted, it's definitely John Ferguson and Robert Worstel. No, I'm just kidding. No, I always like to rib my guests, and Danny especially.
Well, we're here to pull the cork out of the bottom of the universe here.
Oh.
Let it all drain away.
Could take that many different ways. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, let's get back on some serious stuff, because it's kind of like, John knows me, and so do a lot of listeners. I can take it down a non-serious road too quickly. So, but we're talking with John Ferguson of SafeCrossroads.net, and we're also,
and the podcast Technology and Choice, which is why we're here.
That's right. Technology and Choice.
Technology and Choice is actually an umbrella under which the Safe Crossroads podcast fits.
Thanks for adding that, because I always forget that.
Well, no, I mean, this is brand new. That's why we're here. This is a new podcast that actually includes the Safe Crossroads as a subset. We built up to this because really the Safe Crossroads podcast is all about one particular technology that really has a lot to do with choice.
That's a good point. So you're basically expanding it to be more
because
general.
we want to talk about everything.
Which totally makes sense. Yeah, because I have that urge on this show.
We want to talk about everything. I mean, our first podcast was virtual reality. Well, you want to talk about the next one coming up? Yeah, we'll mention it, and then we need to get back to Robert and how we got here. But,
well, and that's a good kind of segue. But let's have him wrap up.
Okay, well, yeah, that's fine.
Let's just have him wrap up a couple minutes. Tell us
how you got from Go Thunk Yourself all the way up to where we're at now.
Perfect.
In 2 paragraphs or less.
In a few
500 words or less. Double speed.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so first, Go Thunk Yourself gave us a basic understanding. It's the common principles that are behind all the really successful self-improvement books of all time. Right, excepting only the Bible, I think. And so we did that study. And then in order to really understand it, I had to understand what logic and analysis were. So we sorted that out. And that gave us that there actually are systems at work in the universe. And that actually then, because there are systems, proved that there are systems, that not only gave us an easier way of thinking in these things, it increased our imagination capability.
And when he says "our," he means him.
Yeah. The royal
or the all-inclusive us. I just didn't want to be singled out as
collective unconscious.
We kind of batted some of this around, but this is mostly his work.
Gotcha.
But John was the test rabbit for it.
Yes.
So if it worked for me and worked for John, then
yeah, and I occasionally chimed in as a muse.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, seriously, we actually spotted that the other day. It made me feel a lot less inferior.
Again, self-help there. See,
yeah,
it all ties together.
Yeah, I'm pretty good to John. So we're on the analysis of analysis, right? And we got through that weird sticky wicket. Then by the third book, that was Go Thunk Yourself Again. That became Go Thunk Yourself Again. The third book was Go Thunk Yourself Some More, which actually lays out with all these basic books and pulls from each of them and gives you a real platform that you could follow, a series of steps if you wanted to straighten your life out. That only took us so far. And here's where John came in, because all of a sudden we were verging on the point of, enlightenment, right? Which is like, it's okay. So basically, let's get this out of the way right now. Enlightenment isn't all it's crocked up to be, right?
That is not what I expect you to say.
That's a great way to put it. I've never.
But Alan Watts would say, he loved to say,
"Love Alan Watts."
Oh yeah. This was after I got onto my Alan Watts tear. This and a couple and
I had to listen to John with this. Oh, you got this tape, but you got this tape, but you got that tape. Okay, Alan Watts would say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
I think I've heard that. It makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. Well, because it doesn't. And that is really, you just study that cone for a while. Okay, just leave it at that. That's another rabbit hole all by itself. His examples were fascinating about people that got, like there was a prostitute who got enlightened and reached Zen and everything, and she went back to her old job after that. It's really, and carpenters went back to their old job after they got all sorted out, And this is the whole thing. What do you do after you're all enlightened and everything?
So it doesn't have to be, carry on. It doesn't have to be the common expectation that once you reach some sort of enlightenment that suddenly you go off into a monastery and be an ascetic or monk for the rest of your life.
Or you levitate things at a distance and, we are in master control of everybody and everything,
Wait, have you all done that?
No.
No, but you're right. It can
be, but no.
You choose not to. But I see what you're saying is, just like Alan Watts was saying, you can and maybe just should go back to what you were doing just to carry on.
If that's just what's the right thing to do.
Depending on what's right for you. And by the way, just to clarify, this is not the Scottish Alan Watts. This is the California guru guy, right?
Yeah, well, he was basically a translator of, bringing together Eastern and Western, philosophies and theologies.
Right.
Putting them out there in a popular way.
I'm familiar, but at first I thought you meant the Alan. It's actually Alan Watt, I think, who's
Alan Watt,
great Scottish like kind of political analyst.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, that's a whole different deal.
I was thinking a whole different deal. But Alan Watts, the California dude.
Anyway, I was into that, and I shared some of that with Robert.
Great stuff. He's got great stuff.
No, it's different view. It's just different viewpoints.
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
what life is all about: is different viewpoints to grow from.
And that's the main trap of many things is you get, oh, this is it. I found it. Finally, it's it. And, it becomes it instead of you forget that, no, it's your life. You choose.
But John found some very fascinating stuff that helped us all out because all of a sudden he pulled up this stuff called releasing. And the simplicity of releasing is so ridiculous. If you take a pen in your hand and hold it really tightly and then just let it go. And that's what releasing feels like. And you can release anything. And so what the funniest thing when that happens is as you release stuff, then nothing is serious. And you've got all these choices open to you and you can do anything you want, but you don't have to. But it makes everything unserious.
That's a whole, Chris picked up a pen and he was trying to see so we need to give a demonstration for folks a little bit. You grab a hold of a pen or anything that's handy and you hold on to it and you hold on to it real tight, and you're holding on to it tight and to the point where you kind of used to holding on to it and it kind of strained to do it, but that's what you do. And that's analogous to most anything that's a burr under your saddle or being a problem to you. Now you can hold your hand palm up and you can let it go and that thing will sit there and that's fine. Then you grab it again, but really if you turn your hand palm down and you go, well, can I let that go? Yeah. Okay. Well, then you just open your hand and let it go. And that's pretty much, that is a physical analog to what you can do just personally.
Did you just hypnotize me? Well, it isn't just a physical analog; it's also a mental one.
Well, exactly, yeah.
Because literally, it is you mentally.
You're deciding to let go.
To let go, and even that anxiety, I felt like I have no real emotional attachment to the pen or whether I hold it or not. But just the anxiety of holding on to it reminds me of ways in which I mentally or emotionally hold on to things. Or
exactly,
I mean, it's a perfect, simple analogy.
It's really simple, and there is some technology around that too, in terms of how to get the ideas of how to approach that so that you can come to be able to do that naturally. And that's a really big deal.
And that's stuff
we may actually take that up. We're kind of charting a course in the future of where things are going to go. And it's not just this kind of technology. We'll be talking about physical technologies as well. Anyway, Robert, before that's tacking on back to where we were going there, let's let Robert finish up how this came forward.
So that then came up to the last book and the one that John and I wrote together. He edited it. And gave me the idea for if he hadn't given me the idea for the title, it would have never gotten to see daylight. But the whole point was that, that explains everything. The book title is Freedom Is, period.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Who Thunk It Revisited. I was like, all he added was Revisited.
There was two versions. Okay. One was Go Thunk Yourself Revisited, but that was thicker and had more stuff in it. But the Freedom Is was the ready for prime time book.
Freedom Is, I like it. And so, I mean, we've probably already been explaining it and touching upon it, but so what is Freedom Is about? What is Freedom Is?
Well, it is. And that's the simplicity of it.
It's very much back to, well, I'm sorry, you choose.
Yeah.
It really, I mean, we've been kind of hacking away at this for a long time at various angles, but the simplicity of it is, freedom is nice, but you kind of have to explain it. When you talk about only self can choose, it's like, well, figure it out. It's another way of saying the same thing, and it gets dead simple. But wow, everybody's kind of got to. Anyway,
would you like me to pass it to you?
Yeah, well,
the doobie? No, I'm just kidding.
Cool. Anyway,
no, but it's funny how some of what we've talked about is so simple, yet it causes me anyway, and I almost feel like watching you, John, the same, even though you already have been doing this for so long and thinking about it, to pause and reflect. What does that mean? What does that evoke in me, intellectually and emotionally and everything else? And it's,
well, and then you do get like we just had there a moment when it's like, well, what do you say? I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting manifestation of it. I agree.
And it's amazing that when someone like you, John, is like at a loss for words for a second. I was shocked.
Well, that's kind of the track and that we've been going down. And there's so much else, Robert, to do with grass-fed beef and this, that, and the other, and various other things that some of those will have to do with podcasts as we go forward.
And so, the choice of technology, like obviously this has been in the works in some sense for a long time, but when did you decide to take SafeCrossroads.net and expand it to something more general?
Well, it started out with when Francis Brunel, one of the Safe network community, geeky guy. Is he's great. He's been very helpful. He and I have talked about different technologies, and he was really into IPFS, Interplanetary File System, and Ethereum, and various others. And he's really he gets them, And I said, I heard about this, and he says, yeah. And then we decided we wanted to do a show on it. Then we were trying to figure out where to fit it. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go into the Safe Crossroads podcast because that's about Safe Network.
It seems kind of extraneous.
I mean, it's kind of like, okay, let's pull this up to show how they don't match up. That's not really where we wanted to go either, because obviously we're fully invested in the Safe Network in that sense. But that's not to discount the power or usefulness of any of it. So looking further, I was looking around for how to do it and a co-host and this, that, and the other. And I'd talk to Robert about it, and then I'd go off and I'd work, and then, and I was going to get another person who was going to help me, but that didn't develop. It might have been a good one, at least for the first, but that didn't develop. And sorting out, I mentioned somebody and got connected with Olga Ivanova with VR Oxygen. Oh, by the way, I'm going to plug. They're doing a crowd sale. I'm not crowd sale. Crowdfunding. What is it? It's a Kickstarter. Doing a Kickstarter on a VR viewer. Mentioned it in the
Cool.
VR podcast. Anyway, so check that out.
Break, so maybe explain a little bit more of that before.
But then we did that, and I got Robert. And we did it, and now we're going on to the other podcast.
Excellent. End of story. All right, we'll see y'all next time. No, we'll be right back.
This is the Logos Radio Network.
Show you right. What else can I do? I'm so inspired by you, and I'm just holding for the longest time. Once I knew my stocks and bonds were gone.
What if, everything around you was like a simulation, man? What if what you thought of as reality was a virtual reality? What if it was a Matrix? The Matrix is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. Deep philosophical musings.
The story ends.
You wake up in your bed. And believe anything you want to believe.
You
take the red pill. You stay in
Wonderland.
And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Oh, thank you, Morpheus.
Great. That's my favorite allegory to life, right?
No, I mean, it's so cliche, I know, but The Matrix is such a profound movie on so many levels, even in ways that people, I don't think, commonly appreciate. So, anyway, that's a whole other.
Right. But not to let it get too far off into the philosophical and mystical. The main point that I want to hold on to through that is, and I highly recommend people go to Safe Crossroads or to SoundCloud and listen to the Decentralization Itch, because that brings it right back down to whatever else is going on right in this moment. You guys hearing my voice, I'm talking to you, and you know who I'm talking to. And if you know that,
I feel special.
Then you've got then you're standing on base zero of how to step off and inspect the world. And
living in the moment kind of thing.
Well, yeah, but also being aware that, and that's not to burden at all. I have the mute. I get through life best by holding on to two completely contrary philosophies. One is that, with complete seriousness and an utter belief. Well, it'll make sense when you say it. One is that I'm completely responsible for my experience of life. Because I choose. I do have choice. I can, if somebody hits me on the arm, I can go and hit them back, or I can go, oh, you hurt me.
Danny hit him. No,
yeah, or I can have a different choice about how I approach that. I can go, oh, hey, let's go, have a beer. But then the other one is that I actually, in an ultimate sense, I have no control at all as to what goes on.
So basically, you have a quantum mechanical.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of like I don't control everything, but I have choice where I'm at. But I can't necessarily determine the outcome.
Right.
And
recognizing those two realities that seem paradoxical.
They seem paradoxical, but they fit together perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, anyway, my only point is then we can go off and we can use that pair of choice and technology to examine things. And that's the whole thing of the podcast. We start out with virtual reality, and I'm going to drop the next podcast, which is in the can. It'll be out this coming Tuesday, probably about the time the show airs. And it's called Revenge of the Social Media Zombies.
I love it. Zombies are in vogue too, so perfect title. So explain that one.
Well, I don't know if we want to explain it too much because it's coming out.
That's true. You don't want to.
But it has to do with technology and choice in a very real way. It sprouted out of something that Robert was doing, and then I consulted and I talked about it, and then it gelled for him, and he wrote an article, and we based the podcast on the article. there again, I got to be amused, and he got to give me fodder for the podcast.
And
He's going to be
amused.
And he got to be amused.
I like it.
But Robert's going to be is generating a lot of stuff that's going to be of interest to the podcast as we go forward.
Well, let's talk about some of that maybe without getting too in depth, because I obviously leave some of the surprise to actual going.
Well, the horizons are vast, really, if you look at it, and it doesn't have to. I want to steer into some high tech, but we got lots of podcasts about Bitcoin and the different internet technologies, and I want to explore some other things. I also, that leaves you mentioned it the last time I was on when I talked about, or well, actually, you mentioned it between the breaks when I was here before. When I mentioned that the podcast was going to be technology and choice, you said, "Oh, great! That reminds me of Ludwig von Mises." Well, that's a whole area of technology that I'd like to interview somebody who could break it down. There are other authors people who work on various areas of social technology. There's political technology. Well, what is the techniques of a scam, for instance?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be something to know about?
That would be Bit Club. Bit Club.
That's great. Now, that's true.
Absolutely, Bit Club.
That's true.
Pyramid scheme.
Well, see, but the real interesting thing is when you look at technology as a
Did I say that out
predetermined
loud?
concatenation.
I believe you did. More than once.
A predetermined, just a pre-worked series of choices.
Yeah.
Then, hey, the guys who run con games, they have technology.
Yeah.
It's worth examining what is that technology and what's the technology for springing it.
And the technology, and maybe another way to look at technology too is to increase the amount of choices you have, or to improve your ability to achieve certain ends, or to improve your condition, whatever that means. And so technology is a means to an end here, and that's exactly what these con games are. They're a set of choices, procedural, schematic, if you will, choices that lead to an end. They're predictable. So, I mean, they're predictable because
there are ways of getting other people to make choices that you want them to make.
Yeah, people can pattern their own behavior after it, to copy you, to do their own scam. And this stuff is really fascinating because this gets into, like you mentioned, Ludwig von Mises. His whole reworking, without getting too off track, his whole reworking of economics was on the basis of
that people choose.
That people choose.
That was basically the whole thing of praxeology, is the study of people's choices.
And that is a form of technology.
Absolutely. Well, it is the ultimate. It's why economics was, it's why economics is failing when they try and apply deterministic physics type of science to it. It's because you're misrepresenting your subject. People choose. I'm sorry, that's just the fact of it.
Right.
Hate to be a butthead, but people choose. Get used to it, and that's
right. You're trying to apply these abstract mathematical formulas,
and that's why people like Bitcoin. I don't think people. I mean, it's talked about, but really, at the basis, why people like Bitcoin. Say, well, hey, I get to choose where I'm going to. They can't inflate it.
Yeah,
I get to choose how I spend it.
Yeah, I was talking to Blake Anderson earlier, and we both came to the same realization that old people call Bitcoin Big Coin. Have you ever noticed that? If you if you mention Bitcoin to like an older person,
Bitcoin,
they go like Big
What's
Coin.
What is an older person?
Like 90.
Oh, okay, good. I was just wondering.
About to offend John here. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I was just curious. I'm starting to realize that I'm not in. I mean, I can get senior discounts now.
Anyone who's 10 years younger than Danny is an old person.
He's an older person.
So if you're 10 years younger than Danny, you're an old person.
Right.
We can't be too young.
He's old.
He looks pretty good, but he's got gray hair.
Yeah, he does. Well, so do I. I'm 34.
I actually dyed mine gray. It's the new thing. All the kids are doing it. So
I did it inadvertently. That wasn't even a choice. So I'm one up.
Did you use the technology?
I used it without even being aware of it. Well,
that's the best technology.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, and so Robert,
where else are we going with it, Robert?
I want to hear Robert jump in because we've monopolized a bit here.
It's easy for me to do when I get rolling.
And me too.
You gave me a good beer, and
but you guys are so much fun to listen to.
Well, wait long enough, and that's not the case, especially if we drink enough beers. So, but Robert, I want to hear you. I want your perspective on some of the stuff.
Wait a minute. How much is it to listen to your podcast?
How much is it?
Yeah.
It's you tell me.
Oh God.
No, I see.
It's a setup.
It's free.
Wow, that's a low price.
I forgot you were prompting on the soundboard. Even seeing your finger poised over the button,
and that gives Danny
that
technology gives Danny a choice to amuse himself.
Yeah,
even if no one else is amused, even if everyone else is slightly annoyed,
he amuses himself and abuses others. Anyway,
exactly. Exactly.
Okay. Anyway, so Robert, where are we going?
Well, one thing we did touch on already tonight was this point about the definition of conventional wisdom, and we talked about following followers who follow followers and the chain keeps going. And
Right.
in the middle of that, we said, look, what these guys are not doing, or what they are doing that they should not be doing, anyway, was that they were not examining the choices that they make. You know, they were given, conventional wisdom is an idea or belief that you accept because it supports your existing belief system, but you never examine it because it's such a neat fit.
And that applies with money.
It does. We're coming to break. I like this road he's going down, because even before he said it, I was actually thinking something similar. So let's talk about this actually on the other side. So we'll be right back. Robert Wurstel, John Ferguson. Stay tuned.
Are you having guilty thoughts? They could land you in jail. Neuroforensic brain scans are being used to prove guilt in India, and they could be coming to a courtroom near you. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht, and I'll tell you more in just a moment.
Your search engine is watching you, recording all your searches and creating a massive database of your personal information. That's creepy, but it doesn't have to be that way. Startpage.com is the world's most private search engine. Startpage doesn't store your IP address, make a record of your searches, or use tracking cookies, and they're third-party certified. If you don't like Big Brother spying on you, start over with Startpage. Great search results and total privacy. Startpage.com, the world's most private search engine.
If you're charged with murder in India, you could confess without saying a word. Their courts use brainwave technology to read defendants' minds and place them at the scene of the crime. The accused is fitted with a wired cap hooked to an EEG machine. Investigators then read statements about the crime and document the defendant's brain response. They claim the system is foolproof since it measures electrical activity sparked by knowledge in the brain. While the U.S. does not yet allow brainwave evidence, experts predict it's just a matter of time. Defense attorneys are petitioning for its use in American courts to exonerate convicted criminals. I'm Dr. Catherine Albrecht. More news and information at CatherineAlbrecht.com.
Trails.
Looking for some truth? You found it. LogosRadioNetwork.com.
I've been walking a tightrope between fact and fiction. Been wrestling with demons in small bottle prisons. Been talking to sinners who claim to be Christian, but shouting at leaders who claim to be listening. And the pendulum swings from the left to the right. Its momentum increases.
Oh, you're still there. Well, hey, listener. Thanks for hanging with us. It's the Crypto Show, your favorite show on the radio. We're not going anywhere, so neither should you. Go! Ow. That terrified me. Literally, I had let's just say I had a clenching moment. It wasn't my hand. It wasn't my hand on the pencil. It was something else. Anyway.
Don't release.
Too late. No. Anyway, stop myself. Stop. Choice. Welcome back. The Crypto Show. We're talking with Robert Wurstel, John Ferguson, SafeCrossroads.net. And the podcast is Technology and Choice?
Technology and Choice, yeah.
Hey.
Actually, currently I'm running it out on the Safe Crossroads feed on the SoundCloud. So if you go to SoundCloud/Safe Crossroads, you can find everything, including the decentralization itch and the series
and all
of
the
apps.
upcoming stuff.
And yeah, they'll be running together until I figure out something else. Don't have a website set up yet,
but probably in the works at some point.
We'll figure something out.
This is a good start anyway.
Yeah.
Well, let's.
I'm actually running ads. Like during our commercial, I put in an ad for LTB Network because for all of the other listeners that like Bitcoin Talk Radio and LRN.FM. I'm trying to send more people to LTB Network.
Oh, sure, kind of that's great. That makes sense.
I think I should pass this around. Everybody that's on LTB Network, and I mean, if they're in any other podcast forums, they should share it, over there or whatever.
Get in front of other people's audiences.
LTBQ IAA Network, yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, let's, before I want to start talking about some of the technologies, by the way, get to the real meat and potatoes of what all this is about. But before we do so, Robert, you had a really interesting point that you were bringing up before we got cut off by the break. So recap that real quick. Let's comment on that real quick, and then we can get to some of those technologies.
Okay, and we'll bridge it over. Conventional wisdom is commonly defined as adopted but unexamined beliefs that support your preconceived views. Okay? Now here's where technology and choice goes into that, because obviously your choice is screwed up if you don't examine stuff you've been told since childhood or whatever, right? Or if you follow politics, and we won't go there. But here's an example of conventional wisdom. You can try this for yourself. Do you have a really comfortable pair of shoes?
I'm barefooted right now, so yeah.
Well, but in general, yeah. Well, see, there you go. But if you get a good comfortable pair of shoes, well, that works. If you ever have a pair of shoes, that's technology that works. You made a good choice. If you have a pair of shoes that really looks nice and it's the latest fad, but they just kill your feet, right? You only wear them to go to weddings, stuff like that. That is accepting conventional wisdom.
Wow. Tell it to my girlfriend. She makes me get these nice shoes that are really uncomfortable, and so I hate it.
Those are called flip-flops.
Oh, that's all right.
But anyway, besides the
girls wear shoes that they think are really,
point, like
really cute,
heels.
that are like complete torture devices. And they say they're doing it for us. I say, I don't want to torture you, dude.
Yeah. So I think she's just getting revenge on me for having to wear those kind of shoes, like high heels. Well, anyway, yeah.
Very
so
cool.
that's a great example.
She has you wearing high heels, you say?
Yes. Yes. Did I just give that away?
How do you think you got those calves?
Am I right? You should see my calves. They're actually pretty amazing. But anyway, that's a great analogy. Comfy shoes are a good choice in technology, or it's a technology that works. Uncomfy shoes are not. Anyway,
but wearing them because of conventional
but
wisdom.
more importantly, because of conventional wisdom.
Now that actually leads into a little piece of data, doesn't it, Robert?
Yeah, because then, like, if you look at it, goes right back into Bitcoin and compared to the current economy, the current economic things. It has all these things to do with, like, how do you decide whether an app is a good app? You really have to test it for yourself. And so that means you aren't accepting, if you just buy something because everybody says it's a great app, but then you don't use it and it's just taking up space on your smartphone, for that type of app. But you really have to test everything you get. And that's the real principal point, that I run on. I know John has a similar view on it, different words, is that you really have to know what you're doing. You have to take the choice. It really goes back to what John said. Choice is, and if you don't choose, then okay, have fun with that.
And it's okay to choose other people's choices. Say, well, I trust him and I'm going to go with what he does.
Right.
You can't invent the wheel every time.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean you're just some blind mimic or a follower just because you choose someone else, or you trust in their, maybe authority or intelligence to vet it and then, to do it, right. to choose that too. Yeah. No, I think it's a really good point. In part because, you have things like, I had another good example, but something like Facebook, just real quick. Facebook, I have personal suspicions that there are intelligence agencies that are potentially behind Facebook. That's already sort of admitted. Certainly the CIA admits that they track data from Facebook and stuff. But, Facebook is sort of...
Wow, Facebook and intelligence in the same conversation? How did that happen?
But that's a good point, which is to say that, and I use Facebook, I'm not exactly dissing it, but the thing is that one of the things that keeps Facebook going is the network effect based on conventional wisdom that it's the ultimate thing. If there are other things out there like, say... is it Google Plus that some people have argued have better attributes or whatever? And just my point is, it's simply by virtue of the fact that conventional wisdom says, Facebook is sort of the ultimate social media platform, that a lot of shortcomings to it are kind of overlooked, and major shortcomings concerning privacy, usability, et cetera. And I think
that's it. I'm getting off the smoke signal network.
Right. But anyway, and then I think that's sort of a good quasi illustration of that point. And then even beyond that, we should be skeptical of what authorities like the government or whatever tell us about technologies. Like, they tell us the technology is being used for good. Is that true? They tell us the technology exists. Does it really? Or is it, really used for the purpose they say? And that sort of skepticism, I think, is healthy and important. But anyway, I don't want to get too sidetracked.
Well, it's interesting you talk about social media and so forth, because the next podcast, which will be out this week, is Revenge of the Social Media Zombies. So it actually has a lot to do with what we're talking about, and conventional wisdom.
That sounds like a great title and a fantastically interesting podcast for people to check out.
It should be fun.
Well, and let's switch gears then. I just wanted to throw that.
Will they be powering the hamster wheel things that, Vermin Supremes, zombie power? Okay.
I don't know.
Everyone gets a free pony, and all the electricity will be provided by zombies on giant
It's an analogy, Danny. It's an analogy.
Things fly over his head quite.
I'm totally voting for Vermin. So.
Right. I wouldn't mind though. I wouldn't mind just one last thing. If your podcast ever, maybe we could even collaborate on an episode or something.
Oh, absolutely.
A skeptical look at technologies, whether it's, for instance, a long run. There's a video by James Corbett of CorbettReport.com where he examines how the petroleum and the combustion engine in cars were sort of, historically, he backs it up with a lot of historical fact, were promoted above other cleaner or more efficient fuels and combustion type or types of engines.
Right.
Just as an example, or other sort of skeptical takes on technology, but something we should talk about. Just throwing that out there.
Well, it's interesting. That's a great point to throw in an aspect of where we're going with this. We don't know where we're going with this.
Yeah,
really.
Just food for thought.
Well, and I want to put that call out to you and anybody else, because the way we said, boy, there's something here, and we figured out how to get it going. We really don't know where it's going to end up.
Well,
but the field is huge. I mean, it can. But so we're hoping for input and direction from other people. And,
well, you just got it.
Well, you giving me that actually made me think of, like, I want to reach out and say, hey, folks, anybody who this lights a spark for, and and the piston starts going, okay, well, you start having thoughts about it, please feel free to share simpleton@safecrossroads.net. Or that's probably the best thing. Just send it to simpleton@safecrossroads.net.
There you go.
Or comment in the comment section on LTB or SoundCloud, and that'll start the process.
Get the ball rolling. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a suggestion: unsung.org.
And that's what we're going to lead in with on the other side of the break. So check that out. That's a great thing. They're open to all sorts of ideas. It can go anywhere and everywhere, and that's the point and the beauty of it. So it's a very exciting potential that the Technology and Choice podcast has with John Ferguson and Robert Worstel. So I'm going to come back talking about an example of a really cool technology, unsung.org, the Unsung app. And then I'm going to let Robert and then John also throw in some cool technologies that they like, that they are considering talking about in the near future. So stay tuned to our last segment here in the Crypto Show. We'll be right back.
Easy.
All right, guys, welcome back to the last segment of the Crypto Show here on this lovely April 3rd, 2016, a Sunday here on Logos Radio Network. Brought to you, as always, by Brave New Books and Hill Country Home Improvements. We're talking with, John Ferguson of SafeCrossroads.net.
Wait a minute. Since, this rush song coming in, and we've been talking all this free will, let's go ahead and make the magic word free will.
Free will.
The magic word is free will. That's two words, FREEWILL, space in between.
No Y at the end.
Nope. That's talking to you, Bill Clinton. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
We need to lock that wheelie up.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about it in the last segment. I'll start off. I'll get Robert to chime in, and then I won't even get John to chime in. He'll just chime in on his own.
I can't help
it.
Kidding. It's impossible.
But let's talk about Unsung. John actually pulled up the website. I haven't even been to the website yet.
Well, Danny, tell us about this, because you.
So we had Jason King in here a couple of weeks ago, and he came into town for South by Southwest, and I was telling us about Unsung. It's actually been out for a little while longer, but basically what it is Uber meets the hungry folks. So say you have an extra hamburger or something and you want to give it away to somebody nearby that's hungry, or if you have a restaurant and you have extra food and you want to give it away, you use this app called Unsung, and it connects you with the people that are hungry.
What if I don't want to give away my food, but I might buy food for others?
There's also the fact that it's tax deductible, so you can just buy yourself an extra hamburger and give it away to somebody and write it off.
What if I eat that extra hamburger?
Well,
but that's me.
Are you the hungry person that you could write it off? I guess.
True.
So.
No, but it's a brilliant app. Yeah,
right.
And Danny, aren't we hoping to bring it to?
Yeah, whenever he gets it going in Austin, we're definitely going to lead the charge here in Austin for Unsung.
Yeah, and just on that point, real quick. So basically, the way it works, just to elaborate, is you can purchase a meal, you can take a picture of it. This acts as verification. And of course, it also encourages people to actually participate, because people love taking pictures of their food. I mean, look at Facebook, right? And then it'll actually show you like a map, a geolocation of where the food was picked up and then where it was dropped off. And you can purchase food at a restaurant, and then some other person can offer to drive that food, pick it up to a hungry person. I think it's brilliant.
And the map, what he's also talking about with the map is it's heat censored, like around the arch downtown where the homeless hang out, that's like a hot spot. So it's going to show you a kind of a heat map of where the people are to help you know where to take the food.
And just like Uber, I've been doing Uber for a little
bit. I guess the biggest advantage would be for restaurants. If they've cooked too much food, they can take their extra food down there and write it off.
And how do they find out the hot spots?
The Unsung app will
the hungry people. Well, these days everybody's got a phone. Sure.
I mean, and the impression I get is that the more places that have historically had
it's going to be a learned. It's a learned technology.
Oh, okay.
It's Skynet. It's Skynet.
It's Skynet.
Oh, good.
No, so it's a brilliant idea. We can't wait to get involved in it. I personally have kind of direct and indirect connections with individuals and organizations who I think would be really perfect sort of participants for this, whether it's, for instance, Wheatsville Co-op or some of the restaurants throughout town.
Oh, yeah.
My mother even used to do Meals on Wheels. So this is the literal Meals on Wheels, like to the extreme.
And when you make the donation, then he sends you the receipt for from his 501c3 for tax deduction for the food
Just
that
like
you
that.
gave away.
It's that easy. Yeah.
So
why
not just cook a little bit of extra and write it off?
Yeah, exactly. And this is brilliant because there's so much food that gets wasted, and this could help alleviate that while feeding the poor. So it's a brilliant thing.
And then the neat thing about it is not a government-backed program.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, it's not Meals on Wheels because Meals on Wheels, whatever good they do, it's still in order to do that they steal from people.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was a government program.
I think it is, isn't it?
And a great example.
It's at least backed.
So a great example of that is Jason King, who is part of Unsung.
I'm sorry. I might have slandered them. If I did, I apologize.
Anyway, so Jason King, the guy that's part of Unsung, he runs a food bank type deal where he feeds homeless in Florida.
Sean's Outpost in Florida. Yeah.
It's Satoshi Forest.
So I think he fed over 100,000 people or something for $100,000
or 100,000 meals at least. Yeah. 150, I think.
Something like that.
Crazy.
Anyway,
big,
it was the price for him was $100,000, where half that amount of meals cost the government over $1 million.
Right.
Which is insane.
I'm no mathematician, but something ain't right.
Right. Well, that's giving more choice into the hand. And that's what we like about technology, and that's what we like about Bitcoin, and that's what we like about the idea of decentralizing. But it not only gives us a choice to not do the bad thing, it gives us a chance to be responsible for our environment.
Yeah,
people
to do
will
more
be
good things. Yeah, absolutely.
People are responsible when they recognize.
And as we talked about with real quick,
options.
Jason King, whatever people's motivation for it, because there are going to be people who are going to do it out of vanity, because then they can post the picture, or out of ego, because they can say, "Oh, I did a good thing. I'm a great person." Whatever the motivation, a good thing comes out of it, and that's the important thing.
Right.
Of course, there's going to be a lot of just more pure motivations where people are going to build their character by helping the poor, and the poor are going to get character building and just life feeding through this process. So it's a great thing.
It's hard to build character if you're not alive.
And that's basically what Jason King said, like the sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and he made a really great point that feed a man a fish, or teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. That's true, but not always true, especially if they're on the verge of starving. Well, let's switch gears. We have 5 minutes. I want to hear two technologies, one from Robert, then one from John. Robert, what's an interesting technology for you that like you're really keen on, or that you're thinking about collaborating, writing about with John?
Well, that's 3 different subjects there.
well, I guess pick one, or maybe one that overlaps all 3.
This guy is a mathematician.
Yeah, right.
I keep it simple, right? I'm the pragmatist of the bunch. Paperback books. Now, look, you can take them wherever you want. They're portable, they're easy, they're durable. You can keep a bookmark in them. They go to the same place where you stop. But what's a breakthrough was, I had to look it up while we were on the break. Lulu came out with a new type, Lulu.com. I publish a lot through them. Anybody can self-publish for free through Lulu. And that's the PR break. Now, they came out with, it was an unfortunate timing, this press release on April 1st, but they say they've improved the quality of the paper that they use. And so they call it solar powered. It reflects light better. So even if you're reading by candlelight, you'll be able to see the words on the page and the colors and the images much better.
That is cool. For real, it's for sure a real thing.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate that came out of April Fool's, or it was an April Fool?
No, it's just unfortunate because there are other places that talks about the substrate that they use, but it's on the Lulu blog, actually.
So how quick will this be commercialized or mass produced?
They've already got it in use.
And are there any particular titles or publishers, or
it's on Lulu? You can have
it's only on Lulu.
You can have anything printed via Lulu, because you can just say, "Well, here's my book in in electronic form," and they print it.
Wow! So for now they have like kind of the exclusive on this.
Right.
That's cool. Okay.
So that answers your third question about what I'm going to collaborate with John on, which is higher quality books.
That's a brilliant idea. And just real quick, it's funny because I'm a big book collector, and I used to be kind of a collector of rare and used or old books. I had to sell them when I was poor, and now I'm trying to get back into that. I think books
mostly cookbooks or.
Very funny.
Okay.
Yes. But anyway, I think books are going to be around a long time.
It's a cookbook.
Anyway. The digital revolution has its place, but I think books are going to be around a long time for various reasons. But anyway, keep going, Robert. I think this is brilliant. I was not aware of this.
Yeah, I was just I keep a lot of feeds coming in about self-publishing all the time because that's my main moneymaker besides farming. And so the whole point is that, and this is what's fascinating, you know, that you can make more money on paperbacks than you can off ebooks. And that's a whole other thing we could get into, but you know.
Wow.
But yeah,
I'd like to have you back on just to talk about that, because like that's interesting.
The technology of self-publishing is fascinating, and it just goes on for hours.
And speaking of decentralization, right? Exactly.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. And they've been publishing since Lulu's been going since the early 2000s.
It's a long time. So,
and they were there before CreateSpace, before anybody else was. All these other guys are. Yeah.
Well, we got a minute 45. That's a great. That's a cool topic. Well, John, give us one to lead out on.
Beer
technology. That's not a technology, John. I mean, it is.
Beer.
That's like a 5,000-year-old technology. What are you saying?
Well,
there's been an improvement on beer?
No. Hey, you know, actually, I don't know. You kind of caught me a little flat-footed, but in terms of because I don't know where this is going. We're just having too much fun. But we are willing to look back because technology. I actually have a particular guest in mind to get on who is going to look back and look at technology through time. To look at technology through time and how it affects, you know, choice and how choice affects.
That's a cool topic in and of itself. Actually.
Yeah, well, no, exactly. Stuff, yeah. I mean, that's what I say. This the scope of what we've embarked upon
Did
here.
You publish on stone tablets?
That's right. Well, they reflected light. Yes.
Lithography.
No, hey, well, you know, the printing press.
Yeah, lithography, literally, right? That's
lithography.
That's
yes.
funny. All right. Well, we're coming to the end. No, I like that too.
Oh yeah, we ought to give Robert's deal.
Robert, do you have any websites people can check you out on?
Well, if you want to find my books, they're on Amazon, iTunes, and Lulu.com. My
Same
website
again, titles
under Robert C. Wurstel.
Yeah, and if you want to just amuse yourself for days, Google search my name, Robert C. Wurstel. But the website to go to is the current, most updated website is livesensical.com.
And Robert Wurstel, go thunk yourself in all its subsequent titles. Awesome stuff. John Ferguson, safecrossroads.net, technology and choice. We'll see you next time, guys.